one of the questions I'm sometimes asked in lessons is what makes one reed harder or softer than another? And the answer to that question isn't quite as simple as just the strength number on the box, because of course the strength isn't consistent from brand to brand. So a Rika reed is going to feel very different from a Van Doren reed, even if the box of both says that it's a strength 3 reed. So it's a little more complicated than that. It has to do partly with the growing conditions of the cane, the conditions under which it's grown and harvested and cut. It also has to do with the cut shape of the vamp of the reed up here. And you can learn a little bit more about French file cut reeds versus American cut reeds on another video on the Studio YouTube channel. But one of the factors in why one reed is a little bit harder or softer than another is actually the thickness of the reed. And students are often surprised to hear that it's actually thinner reeds that are harder. So it's a little difficult to imagine, but it's not too hard to picture once you know what you're looking for. If you look at the bottom of a reed, see if I can get it into focus. The bottom of the reed there, you see little tiny dots. It's easier to see them if you wet the reed. Okay? And those little dots are actually the tubes that carry the water and the nutrients up the plant itself. Okay? So if you look at the bottom of your reed, you'll probably notice that closer to the bark, closer to that shiny arched part of the reed, the little dots are very close together. Okay? And the dots are much more structured, much harder, and more resilient than the area in between the dots. Okay? And as you get closer to the bottom of the reed, the dots get just a little bit farther apart, and along the flat part of the reed, the dots are quite far apart. Okay? So if you think about this, we need to think about it in relation to the structure of the rest of the reed. So let's see, here's our reed. Okay, so this part here, where the dots are close together, if you travel along the bark, that's up here. Part that gets cut off as we're cutting the shape of the vamp. These dots that are farther apart, that's the part that travels up here to the tip. So if we have dots that are far apart, it's a softer part of the reed, a softer part of the cane. So if you imagine suddenly we make this reed thinner, I go up here, these dots that are closer together are the part of the cane that's making up the tip of this new thinner reed. So this reed is going to feel harder and feel more resistant than the reed that was thicker and had a little less structure closer to the bottom of the reed.